Good morning, everybody. Welcome for joining me in my latest YouTube video. Beetle Dave calling from Derbyshire in the UK. This video, I'm going to do something slightly different. It's more of like a discussion. I was watching a video when I was confined to bed in the week from a chap, I think he's Canadian or American. I think his name is Mean Mr Mayo. So if you get a chance to check any of his videos out, please do. He was on about when is enough? Like, you know, when have you got enough records? When is it time to stop? And because I've been ill this week, I've actually had time to think about this. And it's like, the simple answer is I don't know. As you know, if you've been watching my videos, I've been collecting records for over 40 years. At one time, I did have to get rid of a lot of them. So, you know, this collection I've got now is not necessarily the same collection I had when I first started. Some of them are still the same. But I was counting my LPs the other day, and I've got over 5,000 LPs. Singles, probably got 2,000, maybe 2,500. So it got me thinking, you know, I'm in my 50s now. So, you know, I don't know how many years I've got left. I know that sounds morbid, but I don't mean it to sound morbid. But thinking about it, I could never ever play all of my records. Even if I only played them once, there's probably not enough time for me to play every one of my records. But then again, you know, there is records that I will play, you know, every week. Beatles stuff I play virtually every week. David Bowie stuff I play virtually every week. And by the way, we are going to be doing a video on this either later today or tomorrow, so please stay tuned. You know, but as a collector, you always got to keep collecting, aren't you? And record collecting is a very strange world in a lot of ways, because you might think you've got everything by a certain artist, and then you'll go out one day and you'll see an album and you think, well, I ain't got that one. And you look at it and you think, well, I've got most of the tracks, but I haven't actually got that album. So 9 times out of 10, as a collector, you're going to buy it, aren't you? If you've got the money to buy it. You know, but like I say, I don't think it'd be possible if I never ever worked again in my whole life, and I got the money just to stay at home and play records every day. Would I have enough time left in my life to play every one of my records? I don't think I probably would. Don't get me wrong, I've got records down there that I hardly ever play, because I used to like buy job lots, so I would just take out the stuff that I actually wanted, which is usually over here. And then there's like a little row down there, probably maybe 400 LPs that I've hardly ever played. Now that could be stuff like the black and white minstrels, or soundtracks, or, you know, compilations, you know, the thing, Ken Dodds and things like that, that you would, it's like filler stuff, isn't it? You know, if you're buying a job lot off certain sites, you might be buying 100 records, but there might only be like 30 records in the actual job lot that you will want. You know, in the past, I've done car boots and things like that. I did used to sell a little bit on eBay as well, so, you know, that has got rid of some stuff. But I think we might have to like look at sort of like opening some sort of store at some point, because it is getting a bit overwhelming. You know, I'm running out of room. You know, luckily I have got my own music room. Some people, you know, aren't as lucky as me. So like I say, I've got probably 5,000 LPs, easy. Maybe even a little more. That, I mean, that's basically guesstimate. I mean, each one of these here holds 100 records, roughly. That there holds about 150. The thing I've got there that's got my hi-fi and stuff on that holds 800, right? I've got 1, 2, 3 more lots of 3, so there's 9 there, and then there's a thing on the top that's got another 300 on. So like I say, I've got loads and loads and loads. My musical taste goes from anything from Buddy Holly up to the Oasis, basically. Yes, a lot of my collection is the Beatles. Probably a quarter of my collection is the Beatles, to be honest. I've got quite a bit of David Bowie. I've got a lot of Rolling Stones and things like that. But, you know, it's like, physically, have I got the time to play all these? And I think, really, the answer is no. There is records, like I've said, that I play on a weekly basis. There's some that I'll only play on certain occasions. There's some that I will just buy to, like, for completeness of an artist or a band. You know, I've got a lot of Genesis LPs. I do play them. You know, I do play some of them sometimes, but there's probably a couple of them that I've never played. There's a couple of Beatles ones in here that I've never played, basically because they were given to me and they are absolutely mint, and you know, not exactly worth a lot, but they're in mint condition. They've never been played. I think one was, I think it was Help and Beatles for Sale that somebody kindly gave me. But like I say, I've never played them because they're mint condition. You know, so it's the age old question, isn't it? When is enough enough? I know I'll carry on buying records. If I've got the money, I will carry on buying them. If it's something I want, I will buy it. Simple as that. That is the collector in me. The sensible head on, when I do think sensibly, is thinking, well, sooner or later this has got to stop. But I know it won't. That's the thing. You know, I'm a collector. I don't very often go out, to be honest, you know, to the pub and things like that. You know, we do occasionally have a drink at home and things like that. Obviously, you know, if you've been watching my videos, this year's been not a very good year for us. My missus has been on long-term sick for a long time. Other things have happened. You know, it hasn't been the best of years for us. So this is like my little sanctuary. So, you know, I leave my missus to do her stuff, and I'll come up here and I'll like make videos for you guys out there, or you know, I'll listen to records, or I'll be cataloguing some of my records, because I've started doing that as well. Not to put on discogs, all right. Like, all I'll do, I'll like put the record into another sleeve, and then I'll write on it roughly, you know, what it is, what the condition is, and a rough price, what it's probably worth. Not because I'm selling it, but like I've said, one day I'm not going to be here, am I? So then it's up to my missus or whoever is left to decide whether they want to keep all these or sell them, because there is some money's worth here. You know, in all honesty, there is a hell of a lot of money's worth in these records. I'm not saying I've got enough to retire on, because I haven't, because a record is only ever going to be worth what somebody's willing to pay for it, isn't it? But like, if I'm not here, my missus can't say, well, you know, I want to keep them, but I don't want them over there. So how much are they worth? So that's roughly why I'm putting them. It is only a rough price on them, and like, you know, like the condition of them, whether it's got the original in the sleeve and things like that. I mean, I've got one up there. I was looking through it the other day that I forgot I'd got, and it's Lynyrd Skynyrd, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, that's an original from the early 70s. I mean, the book price on that's probably worth 50 or 60 quid, isn't it? For an original, not a reissue. That is an original. Got loads of Magnus records and things like that. But as a collector, I know somewhere or another, I will always be collecting music. Like I say, I've got thousands of CDs. Very rare I play them. I do. I mean, that's not right anymore, mate. I do still play CDs, but mainly if I'm in my car, or I will sometimes put them on the vintage Technics downstairs. Technics system. I've got about 5 boxes of CDs up there, and I mean the boxes like that. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 boxes of singles up there. I've got a cupboard in the bedroom, which is probably nearly as wide as this. That's full of singles. What my laptop is on has got all my Beatles singles in. I've got Beatles singles down there that, the worldwide ones that I recently acquired. So yeah, as a collector, I don't think enough is ever going to be enough, if that makes sense. There's always, especially with the Beatles and David Bowie and Rolling Stones and stuff like that, there's always going to be something that you'll be looking through one day and you think, God, I haven't got that, or that's a different colour, or something like that. But it's just one of them things, like I say, I don't really waste my money on anything. I work long shifts, although obviously I haven't been to work this week because I've been really, really poorly. I had the flu, if you didn't know. I've still got a little bit of a cough and a cold, but at least I'm out of bed today. To be honest, I didn't get out of bed till Wednesday, I think it was, and that was to go to the doctors for flu jab. It's a bit daft, isn't it? But yeah, it absolutely zonked me out basically. But that's another story. So yeah, so in answer to Mean Mr Mayo's little video, which this is sort of like my interpretation of it. If you're a collector, I think you're always going to be a collector. Yes, sometimes you do have to downsize, like I do sometimes. Sometimes I will like make a job lot up, but I will tell everybody what is in it when I do it, and I will sell it. It's just to make a little bit of room. But as soon as I've made a little bit of room, then I will go record shopping and I fill it up again. So it defeats the object in one way, doesn't it? But I think a lot of collectors do that. Yeah, so I think that's going to be it for today. I just thought I'd do something a little bit different and get you guys out there thinking. I mean, it's not necessarily just about records, is it? I mean, some people collect stamps, some people collect books, some people collect coins or medals, or but I think records is quite a strange one because it's like I've said before. I've got hundreds of Beatles LPs, but I will never ever have a worldwide definitive collection. Yes, I've got lots of different variations of albums, British, American, German, Japanese, a few Canadian, and things like that. But New Zealand, and I've got a couple of Greek ones, but I will never ever have everything that Beatles released worldwide because it's virtually impossible for me to get it. I'm not saying, if I was a multimillionaire, I could get it, but this is the age-old question. Yeah, I'd get it, but would I play it? If does that make sense? But it's one of them things. Record collecting, it's a bit like an addiction, to be honest. Some people drink or smoke or whatever. I buy records. That's it. At least at the end of the day, I suppose with this addiction, you do have something to show for it at the end of it. Like all these I do own. It's like that. That's Greek. So it's slightly different, isn't it? So I've got something to show for me. For me money, I suppose. And whether they're ever going to be worth more than what I've ever paid for them. I know some of them are, but I know some of them aren't. It's like it's like I've said before. A record, you might look on Discogs or whatever, and you might have a Beatles record. Like for example, you've got a original UK export copy of the Beatles' White Album on Parlophone, yellow and black Parlophone, so it being Apple, and it just say the PPS on it, things like that. I mean, I've got one that I'm not 100% sure about, but that's on a silver and black and it doesn't say PCS on it. So I think mine might not be legit. Now the book price for that is the yellow and black Parlophone White Album. The book price for that is anywhere between £1,000 and £3,000. All right. Now I've been looking on eBay. I always look on eBay now and again. And there's one on there, and it's been on there for months and months and months, probably over a year, to be honest. And he's got it up at £1,250, something like that. Yeah, it's a nice condition. Got the posters and everything with it. But that's less than what the book price is, but it hasn't been sold. You know, he's had it on there for a long time. So it's the age-old question. Into, you know, something is only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. Like I could work out what all my records are worth and say it's worth X amount, but I probably never get that for it, because if you're selling the whole lot, people don't really want to pay what it's worth, do they? If that makes sense. Sometimes they might, but you know. So yes, when is enough enough? You know, when do you stop collecting? In my case, probably never. No, that is the honest answer. Probably never. I'll probably be collecting records till the day I die. Um, but then again, you know, it's like I can, with a LP, it's like a work. You know, it's not just the record, is it? You know, you're buying the record, you're listening to the songs, but then it's stuff like the artwork, or you know, the goodies that you get. That sometimes you'll get a poster, or you'll get an inner sleeve with the lyrics and stuff like that on. So, you know, they're like little works of art, aren't they? Some album covers are, anyway. So that's going to be it for today. So I've gone on a little bit, but then again, this is quite not that long really for one of my videos, is it? But I can't do long videos at the minute because I'm still getting a little bit out of breath. So I hope it's been entertaining. That's all I'm here for, is to entertain you, spread a little bit of my knowledge, and occasionally we do things like this where we have a lot like a little discussion. So if you want to like put any comments down, what you think you'd do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not selling it. I'm not selling the record collection. That isn't what this is about. You know, like I say, because I was in bed, I watched something, and somebody was saying, "Well, when's enough? When is enough enough?" Sort of thing. You know, like I've just said. In all honesty, for me, enough. I will never have enough records. Yes, I've got records that I'll probably never play or very rarely play, but they're there for completeness as well. You know, it's like if you have a, you know, some people buy classic cars. They'll never drive them. You know, they just like to look at them. That's the case with some records, isn't it? You know, it's like if you've got a record that you know is worth, I don't know, £100, but then you've got the same record that's not quite in good condition, that's only worth £10. You've got to play the £10 one, aren't you? Keep the good one. Maybe only play it on special occasions and things like that. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to subscribe and you haven't, just subscribe. You know, it doesn't cost you anything. And then, you know, after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, if you think, well, it's okay, but, you know, just unsubscribe. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe or unsubscribe. I do try and vary it. You know, it is called Beatle Dave. So 99.9% of the time, it is about the Beatles. But we do other things like this. Sometimes we'll have a discussion, or we'll talk about other artists. This is going to be the next one, which will probably be tomorrow now, or it might be later today, I don't know, which is the David Bowie box set. Ooh, that's, you know, this is weird because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 8 albums in it. In all honesty, it's over 18 records. So that's going to be either later today or tomorrow. People that are liking my videos, thank you very much. If you want to leave comments, please do. The views are, you know, starting to go up quite high now on certain videos. Also, obviously this weekend we had the sad news about Michael Nesmith of the Monkees. Now, like a lot of you know, I grew up like in the early 70s with the Monkees, because they used to be shown on BBC One, didn't they? On the, was it a Saturday morning or something like that? So, you know, I think Michael Nesmith was a very underrated in some ways singer songwriter and musician. He'll be sadly missed. I was watching on YouTube yesterday the last like concert that him and Mickey Dolenz did, which was only last month. And he's you know, you can tell he's ill. You can actually tell he's ill. He only sings. He doesn't play his guitar, and he like just stands there and he sings. But then after like one song, he walks off. So Mickey Dolenz will do a song, and then he comes back on. Now in hindsight, you can tell that he wasn't really that well, but it's probably something that he just wanted to do, wasn't it? You know. Yeah, so I think he will be sadly missed. So that's going to be it for today, folks. So as always, love your records, cherish your records, clean your records, above all, play your records. You know, if this has got you thinking about, you know, do I need to have that many records, or, you know, can you ever have enough records? You know, things like that. Or if you're collecting other things, you know, like I say, we're all slightly different, aren't we? I will be collecting forever. I know that. I can say after tomorrow I'm not ever going to buy a record again, but I know I will. I know I will. If I, you know, if I see something I like, I will buy it. Sometimes we, you know, we go to like record shops and you see stuff like £2 or £3 or something, and they look like really, really a bit dodgy. But I've got, like I said before, I've got a nice record cleaning machine. So if you're into your records, I'd advise to get one of them as well. So thank you very much for all of you that are subscribing, liking, leaving comments. You know, I do appreciate it. Like I say, I've been pretty poorly this week, so you know, I just thought I'd do something a little bit different. So until the next time, please stay safe. Formula One day today, isn't it? So who's going to be the world champion? You know, at the end of the day, is it going to be Max or is it going to be Lewis? I know who I'm cheering for, but I'm not going to tell you. I just hope it's a clean race. That's all I'll say on that one. So stay safe, and I will see you on the next video. Until then, this is Beetle Dave from Derbyshire in the UK, wishing you, you know, a really, really nice weekend, what's left of it. And if you're at record collect, oh, if you live anywhere near Lincoln, there's a big record fair on there today, by the way. So until the next time, it's Beetle Dave saying cheerio, look after one another, and I will see you soon.